What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Monday Night Throwdown on BostonSportsRadio.net. I'm Aashish Sharma with Brian Roach, Jake Banter, and John Fernald. What's up, guys?
How's it going, Aashish?
How are you?
Good. This is a new segment that we're going to be doing on BostonSportsRadio.net called Monday Night Throwdown. It'll be weekly, obviously, on Mondays. I'm looking forward to getting started. Let's go ahead and jump into some of this stuff here, guys. Let's open with the Red Sox. Obviously, 1.5 weeks now in a Grapefruit League play. I just kind of want to start by talking about the pitching. Obviously, we've seen a lot of good starting pitching from Ryan Dempster, John Lester, Felix Doubront. I want to talk about Lester specifically, and Brian, we'll start with you. I think he's shown a really good early on of the strike zone, something we really didn't see last year. I think that, again, it's still early, but what we've seen so far is encouraging in the 2 games that he's played. He hasn't given up an earned run yet. He seems to have a good command of the strike zone. What do you think?
Oh yeah, he's definitely limited his walk, his anger issues towards the umpires, which is a big thing. Last year he would always complain about every single pitch. Like if he thought it was a strike, it should be a strike. But this so far in spring training, I think John Farrell has calmed him down. He's looking really fresh out there. He's zipping his cutter inside and whatnot. So I think it's going to be a good year for him. Maybe Cy Young caliber, but we'll have to see once he's starting like full games in and whatnot towards the end of spring training.
Yeah, I mean, I would say as well. I mean, I think that the Red Sox have the best, as good of arms in the bullpen and the starting rotation as anybody in Major League Baseball. Big down year from Lester last year. Everyone's expecting him to bounce back. I mean, I don't think he can pitch much worse than he did last year. So that's one thing. I expect Lackey to be okay. I think, Ryan Dempster's going to be okay. But we have the depth. We also have a Chavez who I think could start it, step into a, 15 to 20 starts a year, potentially a little bit more. But, I think the bullpen is stronger too. I mean, I think that we have the depth and the arms to compete with anybody and make a serious run, although it seems like nobody else believes. I still do.
And that's the biggest thing, too, with the Red Sox, going into this year is that it's not super high expectations. I think that's killed them a lot over the past couple of years after the big signings of Alex Gonzalez and Carl Crawford. John Lester looks great. I mean, the guy's a beast. He's 6'4", 240. He's big on the hill. If he can get his velocity up with his fastball, I think he's right back there to 16 to 18 wins, a low 3 ERA, especially with the support behind him with Buchholz. If he can stay healthy, I mean, he's never started 30 games in a year, just missed it last year. Dempster looks good so far. I mean, as long as he can, keep his attitude up, in the AL and not get blown up, I think the Red Sox look good with the starters.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. And, Jake, to just get back to your point, if Alfredo Chavez is making 15 to 20 starts this year, I really hope it's because someone got injured. I really don't see him making that many starts otherwise. But getting back to John Lester, I think, guys, the biggest thing with Lester in the past couple of years that you guys have probably noticed is that when he gets rattled in a game, things fall apart. It just unravels immediately. One thing doesn't go his way, and all of a sudden he's given up 5 earned runs. I remember a couple years ago in Seattle, he was throwing a perfect game through 5 innings. All of a sudden, the center fielder, I think it was Corey Patterson at that time, dropped an easy fly ball, and Lester was cruising at that point. One batter later, he gives up a 2-run home run, then he allows 2 singles, and then it just all falls apart. So I think it has to be that, that mental toughness that we have to see from Lester to be able to kind of block things out when things don't go his way and not let it carry over into later innings.
And I think that's, where John Farrell comes in, not being our pitching coach.
Definitely.
Being the manager, I mean, he's going to be able to add to any pitcher on the team, keeping guys in check, keeping their attitude up. I think last year, even with Bobby Valentine, just, I hate to blame everything on him, but the clubhouse just wasn't the same, and it wasn't championship caliber, obviously, winning 60, low 60s games.
What's funny with Valentine, though, too, is you think back, and he doesn't even care now. He's like, yep, it was me. Like, I knew that that's what my role was going to be. Like, I was going to fall on the sword and blow this up and, so on and so forth. I mean,
not even that, though. Not even that. He said no one would have won with that team, not even Connie Mack.
The point is he's trying to, I don't know. He's kind of I think John Farrell is just more of a professional. Personally, some of the stuff that Nesson makes him do is like above and beyond. It's like making him kind of sit and do an interview over and
The
over
Bobby
again.
Valentine show. Like,
Right,
what the hell
exactly.
was that?
That was the worst show.
So, it was just, I mean, that the Red Sox are going to have to fight us back and try to get us back as fans, because all of us are sick of the bricks and the this and the that, and it's just, we haven't had a winning baseball team that anyone has liked here in Boston since probably '08. I mean, that's a long time. Yeah, I mean, but you got to say Larry Lucchino also, he also did help, have the Red Sox win a couple championships. But they're shoving the stuff down our throat over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, where it's like, it's, we were all excited because they won, and I would have bought any keychain or bumper sticker or any of that crap. And I'm never gonna buy it ever again.
No, and honestly, the ownership, their act is getting old. Like, hey, let's toast to the 100th anniversary of Fenway Park. Man, win some baseball games,
Right.
Like, forget about that stuff. And hey, let's elect the first president of Red Sox Nation, or get your official membership of Red Sox Nation. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I mean, hopefully, if they can get back to focusing on winning baseball games, I think this is the year that starts back up again, because John Farrell is the closest thing to Tito that we've had. Again, Bobby Valentine was just, I don't know what the hell that was. So I do want to move on now, guys, to the next topic, which, obviously in spring training, Grapefruit League, one of the benefits of that is that you get to see a lot of young talent in the minors. And I think so far it's been no question that guys that have been standing out have been Jackie Bradley Jr. and Ruby De La Rosa, specifically from me. And I have been impressed with Jose Iglesias as well. I think he's shown a little bit of a spike in his offensive production. Brian, again, we'll start with you. What do you think of some of the young guys?
Jackie Bradley Jr. is an absolute beast out there. He's going to get a lot of playing time with Shane Victorino over at the World Baseball Classic, so that's going to be very good to see him in right field. I know he's a natural center fielder, but he can get on base. He can hit home runs occasionally. Like, he hasn't shown that kind of power yet, but he can steal bases. He can do a lot of things. So,
yeah, I mean, I personally, I think that Jackie Bradley Jr., I mean, a lot of this, I think, too, has to do with Ellsbury. It's to show us, hey, look, we'll be fine if we don't have Ellsbury. And I think that, that's important for the Red Sox, because I don't think anybody thinks that Ellsbury is going to be coming back. So, it's nice to see that we have some young players, that we didn't trade them all away in the Adrian Gonzalez deal, because I know for me, I mean, I think that's a big thing. So, it's nice to see that we've tried to replenish our minor league system a little bit after we kind of gutted it by getting, Adrian Gonzalez.
I like our minor leaguers. I mean, Varnaway's a guy who's never really gotten a chance. I mean, he hasn't started off hot so far in the Grapefruit League, but, I mean, it's early. It's a guy that we know can hit. I mean, there's not really anywhere else he can go with, sky's the limit, if you will, in AAA. I mean, he's done everything he's needed to do. He just hasn't had the chance. And, with David Ross signing, I don't know if he's going to see that. They were talking, if Ortiz isn't ready, could he step in and be a DH? I still love Varnaway. Iglesias, the kid can play. Stephen Drew, I would like to see them shop him, but Stephen Drew, I'm excited for Stephen Drew. So, everybody that I've seen show improvements or that I've liked in the minor system, there's just really not a spot for him on our squad. Not this year. I mean, we'll see what happens with people getting injured.
Right, yeah. Well, Fern, the thing about, and I do want to touch on Stephen Drew, is I did think that they went out and overpaid for him, like a 1-year, $10 million deal for a guy who has 2 bad ankles. Just didn't seem to make any sense to me. Obviously, they did need a shortstop, but I think Jose Iglesias, if he can come in and give you $250 a year and driving runs here and there, I think that's good enough. I mean, because he's
been doing good so far this spring training. He had 2 doubles today, He has 4 extra base hits over the course of spring training so far, including a 2-run shot for the Green Monster in JetBlue Park, which
Wow.
I didn't think he had it in him to
Wow.
hit it that far. So
Right. That was launched. And I mean, I really didn't think that, but he did. He worked out with Pedroia over the offseason at API. He put on 10 pounds of muscle, so I think he is kind of improving in that sense. And Jackie Bradley Jr., as you said, Fern, with Ellsbury's future in doubt and possibly getting traded at the deadline, I think we might actually see him sometime this year if there is an injury or possibly in September.
I can't stand Ellsbury. I don't know about you guys. I think he's a great baseball player, but he missed 6 months because he broke a rib. And I mean, it's just, give me a break. It's, and I don't think that there's any chance that he resigns with the Red Sox at all. And, I think that we have to start kind of considering him almost as a player that's not even going to be on this team for probably, I don't think he's making it past the deadline, personally.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And Brian, we'll let you get in on this. I know you and I have had this discussion in the past about whether or not they keep Jacoby Ellsbury. And the way I see it is, Jacoby Ellsbury is a Scott Boras client. He's going to hit the open market, and he's going to make bank, and they're going to base it on his 2011 numbers. And I really don't see why you should go after a guy like Ellsbury, who's going to probably be making $17, $18 million on the open market, when you can be paying Jackie Bradley Jr. less than $1 million a year as you have him under contract for 6 years. You have him under team control. Doesn't it make more sense to just keep Jackie Bradley Jr.?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, but also too, I mean, let's be honest, it's early. I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr. isn't Ellsbury yet. I mean, Ellsbury has some incredible stats. That's what sets him apart. Him hitting 30 home runs and stealing 50 bases, or I think he stole 70 bases that year, having 100 RBIs. He's a phenomenal player. There's something about him that just rubs me the wrong way. Anybody that doesn't really have that desire seems like it's kind of like a JD Drew situation almost, but I think he's probably a better player, but he doesn't look like he loves baseball.
Well, I mean, both of his injuries were freak injuries, like running into Adrian Beltre running into him,
Crazy.
and then and then a Tampa Bay Ray landing on his shoulder. Like, You can't predict that. Like, I think if he stays healthy, he'll put up solid numbers. I see 25 home runs, 45, 50 stolen bases. That's what I see. Maybe a 280 average, not 300, but I mean, still pretty solid numbers for the leadoff guy. And Jackie Bradley Jr. will replace him at the end of the year. I don't see the Sox re-signing him, especially since they have seen what Jackie Bradley Jr. can do.
True.
I completely agree. Yeah, Jackie Bradley is not there yet, but the fact that he has started off hot in the Grapefruit League, shows the Red Sox that he's almost there. And I think, 4 or 5 months down in AAA can get him ready when it's time to get rid of Ellsbury. And who knows what they can get for him.
Right. No, that's true. I think especially if they're outside of playoff contention at the deadline, it's a no-brainer. You got to trade him and get something in return, because remember, if you get some prospects in return, you have them under control for a considerable amount of time, and then any team that's making a push that needs a left-handed bat like Jacoby Ellsbury could use
trade him to the Dodgers. They'll take him.
Of course, they love taking our garbage, and they'll give us Ruby
will take him.
They'll give us They'll give us another one of those guys. So I enjoy it. So okay. So speaking of whether or not they'll be in contention, what do you guys think? Do you think there's a playoff team?
I do.
I think a second wild card team.
Here, go ahead, Brian.
Okay. It's basically what I think is 90 wins, 92 wins for this team. I think Lester bounces back big. Clay Buchholz has a decent year. Brian Dempster has a pretty solid year. I think what will lead this team is Will Middlebrooks. I know everyone had that scare with his wrist earlier in the week, but I say he can put up MVP numbers. Look at what he did in just what did he play?
I completely agree.
Wow.
I agree with Brian too. I see him
70, 80 games or something like that, and he'll have 36 home runs, over 100 RBI. He can actually steal bases too. So I mean, if he can lead this team, then I think this team will be able to put up high enough numbers to get into the playoffs. So
Go ahead, Fern.
If our 3, 4, and 5, Pedroia, Ortiz, Middlebrooks can all put up numbers that we expect them to. I know it's a little early to say that Middlebrooks is going to hit 35 home runs. I see him more along the lines of 28. This team's going to be tough to beat. The AL East is tough up and down, but I think the Orioles got lucky last year. I think the Blue Jays could end up winning 100 games or end up being the Marlins of last year. I think the Yankees took a step back. I think the Red Sox are right in the spot they need to be to either get in through the wild card or even sneaking away with the AL East. I don't think that's completely crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and say 88, 89 wins.
Yeah, I think that 85 to 90 wins is definitely doable. They have the talent, but I'm just looking at the rest of the AL East here. Toronto got so much better after the trade, acquiring, Mark Burley, Jose Reyes, Heath Bell, all these guys, and then they already have guys like Jose Bautista, Brett Lowry. They have a good team. And JC Romero, guys like that. The Orioles were a Cinderella team last year. I obviously, don't expect them to make the kind of run they did last year, but I think they'll still be a better team. They're the type that's improving. The Rays are always giving the Sox problems. The Yankees are always there, no matter how old they look or how banged up they are. They always find ways to win games. So this is going to be a really tough year division-wise in terms of getting into the playoffs by winning the division. I do think that they will end up getting one of the wild card spots if they can play some winning baseball and get on the good side of 90 wins. But obviously they have to stay healthy, and that has been a real major issue, both pitching-wise and position player-wise over the last couple of years, is having a full roster of 25 guys. I mean, remember that year 2010 when they had like 27 guys go on the DL. So, yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of staying healthy and doing a job. And, we'll see what happens. But if they can do that, then sure, I think they can get into the playoffs.
I don't think they have. Personally, I mean, I'm trying to be an optimistic Boston fan, which doesn't really make much sense. But I see them right around 88. If we were playing in the division last year, if you don't add the additions that the Blue Jays have, because I'm right there with you, Fern. I think the Blue Jays are going to win 100 games, and I think they're going to blow it. I think, talent-wise, I mean, I think that they're right there. When you add R.A. Dickey and you add, Jason Johnson Josh Johnson and Burley as well. I mean, that's 3 major big-time arms. I mean, those are 3 of the top 15 arms in the league. And they just
Burley still top 15?
Who? Burley?
Still top 15?
R.A. Dickey.
No.
Okay.
Once his knuckleball's gone, he's not going to be able to do anything.
All right. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there that the Blue Jays made some significant moves to kind of make themselves a better team. A lot of people are forgetting, too, they got Milky Cabrera as well.
They're stacked.
They still have the best 3-4. They have the best 3-4 in Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion. Encarnacion will hit 45, 50 runs this year.
Yeah,
he's on steroids.
Ridiculous.
He's on steroids.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I mean,
he's had this power in limited time.
Are they better 3-4 than Hamilton Pujols or Pujols Hamilton, whichever?
I think I'd take Hamilton Pujols any day. I mean, come on.
I think it's Pujols Hamilton. They already said that's what the 3-4 is going to be.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's really hard to beat that duo right there. But guys, let's now switch gears. I want to talk now a little basketball. Let's talk about the Celtics. Jeff Green, one thing that has been on everybody's mind right now is why is this guy not starting? And I'll just go ahead and jump in here and say, in Doc, I trust. I think the reason he's not starting is because Doc likes him running with the second unit. He likes the energy he brings off the bench. And even though he runs with the second unit, he does get some solid minutes with the starters. So how do you guys feel about that? Should he be starting, or do you like him where he is?
I think I like him where he is, only because Jeff Green, as you said, brings energy off the bench. And Brandon Bass, I mean, he's sort of like the veteran in like the starting rotation. Not like veteran as in like Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, but like he's been there in the starting rotation. He knows his job. He knows he can shoot. He can't rebound for a lick, but he he puts his heart out there. I mean, sure, he made his money, so he's not like having his heart fully out there anymore, but like he has enough heart to get in the starting lineup. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not the biggest Brandon Bass fan, but I mean, we're talking about Jeff Green here. I mean, personally, I'm a huge Jeff Green guy. I think Doc thinks about it this way. It's not going to be a huge negative for Green's psyche coming off the bench, but it is going to be a huge negative for Bass. Bass is going to throw a fit and be a baby about it, and he can put Green, and that's the thing with that.
David.
It'd be crazy to not think that Jeff Green would be one of the, personally, I think Jeff Green is the best potential player the Celtics have going forward. I mean, Rondo, Bradley, and Jeff Green are a nice, three-piece moving forward, and you add Sullinger in there as well. I mean, I agree with you 100%, Brian. I mean, Brandon Bass plays like a typical NBA player that's playing on a first year of a 3-year deal, has nothing on the planet to worry about, is going to get his money no matter what, and he just kind of loafs around there. He just doesn't do it for me. But what do you think, Fernie?
I would love to see Jeff Green start. I mean, on any team. He's a starter on any team, hands down. It's just who you have around him. Right now on the Celtics, I don't think there's really a spot for him to be starting as a 4. I would love to see it, but like you said, Bass is going to start. I still think Jeff Green should be getting close to 30 minutes a game, if not more. The guy's one of the best athletes in the NBA. He should have been in the dunk contest maybe next year with LeBron after getting paid. I love Jeff Green. Does he have the heart of, say a guy like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan? Not yet, but, somebody needs to light some fire underneath this guy's ass because pretty soon, if he gets 30 to 35 minutes a game, he should be scoring 25 points and pulling 10 boards, maybe with 3 blocks. And the guy, I mean, it's been hit or miss with him. He'll have a big night, then he'll shoot, 3 for 12. But look at the solid game they played against Golden State, even though they were struggling on a long East Coast trip. I mean, the guy got 28 minutes, put up 18 points, shot 60%, and he hit big shots down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
10 of those points came in the fourth quarter too. So
exactly.
Yeah, there you go. And last month he averaged 15 points per game. Right now we're one game into this month, 18 points per game. He's really been stepping up, and that's something that was missing when he first came over here in that deal for Kendrick Perkins and Nate Robinson. But he's really found that groove, and I'm excited for what we can see from Jeff Green in the future. I do want to move on now. I know this is a little bit late. We're a little far out now from the trade deadline. We're about 2 weeks past that, but there was that deal that could have potentially sent Kevin Garnett to the LA Clippers for DeAndre Jordan and Eric Bledsoe. What do you guys think about this? Because I personally would have strongly considered this if I'm Danny Ainge, because the Clippers benefit because they get a veteran and they give us 2 young studs that are capable of really becoming bigger impact players, and it gives the Celtics kind of a jump start on the rebuilding process. Brian, how do you feel about that?
I thought it was a decent deal. I believe they need a backup point guard with Eric Gordon, and he would have been Eric Bledsoe. He would have been a good backup point guard, and I love DeAndre Jordan. He's a good, solid rebounder. He would be able to take Garnett's place, not defensively, but offensively at least. This team would probably be more offensive than defensive if Garnett was traded. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well. I mean, I think you got to think about it this way: is that a pro sports team is also a business, and to think that pissing off the fan base by trading Kevin Garnett as he is begging to stay and bringing in. I mean, he's already kind of gone through it with Perkins. He still hears people talk about not trading Perkins. You shouldn't have traded Perkins. Imagine he traded Garnett, what people would say. I mean, Danny couldn't walk the streets if he traded Garnett. And who's to say? I mean, there's other scenarios where you talk about Ray Bork when he went to Colorado and so on and so forth. But who's to say? I mean, the Celtics could be right there in the Eastern Conference Finals again. I mean, with Kevin Garnett this year and even next year, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think that it potentially could have been a great trade. but I don't think that, I don't think that it was something that was ever really going to happen. I think it was dreamy, and I think that it wasn't really ever going to happen. So,
yeah, it's one of those deals that when you really look down to it, it's like Vinny Del Negro wouldn't have given up two young guys, especially DeAndre Jordan, for Kevin Garnett. And Kevin Garnett would have, used his no-trade clause. He never would have left. It's one of those trades that would have been like, it would have been great. We could have got a young point guard and a young center. But Vinny Del Negro would have never gotten rid of two of his young studs. And they're one of the best teams in the NBA right now. Yep. And also, like you touched on with Danny Ainge, having the gun down his throat if he had done it. I mean, it's just one of those trades I just didn't think it would ever happen. It was fun to talk about for a minute, but moving on now.
I mean, so let's, before we move on now to the Bruins, I just want to get final predictions, guys. Celtics, how far do they end up going this year? I really don't see them getting past the Heat. Yeah, they can make a Cinderella run like they did last year to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I really think that if they do get up to the Heat in the first or second round, depending on how things shake out with the seeding, I think the Heat will beat them in 6 or 7 games.
Yeah.
I see them as the 6th seed going into the playoffs. I see them getting up one more seed just to get a good matchup in the first round. I actually see them as a good matchup against the Heat, only because I think Jeff Green can actually guard LeBron James, and he can give Paul Pierce rest guarding LeBron, and Paul Pierce can score. I'm sure he could score if he was still guarding LeBron James, because remember that game when LeBron James and Paul Pierce went back and forth. So I mean, it is possibility, but I don't know if they'll beat the Heat. I say 7 games, but we'll see how the matchups play out.
I mean, personally, I don't think anybody's beating the Heat. I mean, I hate to say that, but I do love Jeff Green. That's a great point of Jeff Green on LeBron James. I mean, I think he has the length. I don't think he has the body necessarily inside, but I think he makes up for it by having the length to be able to defend LeBron James. And it would be exciting as a Celtics fan to get another shot at them, to see Avery Bradley play Dwayne Wade. I think that would be another great matchup to watch as well. Obviously, not having Rondo would be a big deal. But I do think that, and Pierce is kind of like the wild card at this point. I don't think anybody would claim that Pierce could go toe-to-toe with LeBron like he did in 2008. But I do think that, if the stars are aligned correctly, Paul can have one of those miracle games and put together 40 points and, score 24 in the fourth quarter. And I do think that that's still a possibility. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and hopefully we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals again.
Yeah, well, I mean, before we start talking about the Eastern Conference Finals and the Heat, which I do like the matchup against the Heat, especially with Jeff Green being so long and taking LeBron inside and out. But if we get the 6th seed, we're looking to face up against the Indiana Pacers, who are one of the best teams in the NBA right now, especially getting Danny Granger back. I mean, we might not even make it out of the first round. And I'm a big Celtics guy. I love the Celtics. But the Indiana Pacers, they match up well against the Boston Celtics.
Agreed.
Especially with no Sullinger. Yeah. I mean, Hibbert's just going to go to work. KG's going to hate himself.
Brandon Bass on him? Brandon Bass guarding Hibbert?
So,
oh my lord!
So I think we're almost favored to be the 7 seed, but who knows? I mean, Indiana could end up with the 2 seed. If the season ended today, I'd want to be the 7 and facing the Knicks. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I think they match up well against them, but that's it for the Celtics talk. Let's move on to some hockey now, guys. So the Bruins obviously playing at the top of their game right now. They lost yesterday, but for the most part, they have been absolutely on fire. Probably the hottest team in the NHL behind the undefeated Chicago Blackhawks, who are still crazy. They haven't lost in regulation yet. So how long do you guys think that they can keep this up?
The Bruins or the Blackhawks?
Oh, this is BostonSportsRadio.net. What do you guys think? How long do you think the Bruins can do this?
I I think the Bruins can keep it up all season. They have the physicality. Tuukka Rask is a beast behind the net. He has a goals against average below 2. He has a 933 save percentage. Hudobin has been really great as a backup goalie. I love Brad Marchand. Tyler Seguin needs to heat up some, but he had that goal last night. He had a goal last night, so hopefully that will work out in his favor. Patrice Brown won like best hockey player of the week or something this week, so that should help the Bruins going forward. So yeah, I think they can keep it up. Maybe not as hot, but like at least maybe win, have the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can. Another key point too with the Bruins is I think the offense is something that drives us as Bruins fans crazy because we want to see them score goals. We want to see the light get lit. We want to sing the song at the Bruins games. And you know what wins and what is a win for the Bruins since Claude Julien's taken over is defense and not letting goals in the net. It's tough to watch. It's agonizing. It's awful. It drives me crazy. I want to see a goal, okay? And scoring 2 or 3 goals a game, you're not going to get that. But Claude Julien has also made, and I'm not saying Tim Thomas wasn't a great goalie, but his system makes it easier for a goalie to play, and keep the goals down. And that's a key part for the Bruins. I think, we can expect Seguin to turn it up. I mean, I think that there's no question. Tyler Seguin is on the verge of becoming he is on a crucial point, I think, in his career where he can become one of the greatest, I'm not saying the greatest hockey players of all time, but he can go in that great category, or he can be like a Phil Kessel. And this is the time that we kind of figure that out. Because Phil Kessel scored 50 goals here too, or 35 or something like that. Maybe it wasn't 50, but I think 35. So it's a crucial point for Seguin. I think that, we're looking pretty good, and I think that the Bruins will be right there at 1 or 2. I don't think that there's a question with that.
Yeah, I mean, they're the deepest team in the East, I think. I think it's going to be between them and the Penguins for the number 1 seed.
Right.
You don't get guys like 2 MVP guys on one line. Malkin and Crosby is just ridiculous. But yeah, the Bruins look great. I mean, they've got great camaraderie, and moving on, I think that they're right there for a number 1 seed.
So who else do you think can compete with the Bruins?
I mean, we saw it last night with Montreal. I mean, obviously playing in their house doesn't help, but the Penguins, Montreal, the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think that the Rangers are going to be right there. The Devils still have a great team. They were in the Cup final last year. I mean, I think that we still kind of gotta look to them as a team to worry about as well. But I think another key point too that the Bruins have is we got Khudobin playing pretty decent too. We got 2 goalies playing well, which is important for the playoffs because we need Tuukka to be fresh. We need Tuukka to play 6 out of 7 games or 7 out of 7. If you remember when the Bruins won the Cup, Tim Thomas played every single game for like the last 20 regular season games, and then that's what you need from your goalie, and and in this Julien system, that's even more important. But I think that we're right there. I mean, it would be how fun would it be for the Bruins and the Penguins to face off? Like I know I'm getting ahead of myself, Fern, as usual, because none of these other Eastern teams I think can really compete with them, except for the Penguins. So that would be fun.
It'd be fun to watch Montreal because it's a very physical. I mean, sure they dive a lot, but that's a different story that Montreal Canadian fans don't even want to admit. Like even though like announcers, like I was watching people talk about it last night. Like Felger was talking about it, and the Canadians guy was like, "Oh no, they don't do that. They're just hard hit. They're physical and like." But it's so that everyone's clear. His name's Hudobin. The K is silent.
Oh.
It's like Django. DJA.
He is silent. How did that not win an Oscar?
Touching on that, what Brian just said. I mean, these guys are French Canadian up there. Keyword French. It's like soccer players from France. It's like they just fall when they get nicked, and they act like they've just been shot.
Exactly, and this is the face we have when they do that.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. So guys, so how obviously moving on now, the power play for the Bruins has been an issue recently. Obviously something that needs to be addressed. Do you address it through a trade? How do you improve the power play?
I don't know if there is a way.
I think you just keep it the way it is.
You guys
I think you just keep it the way it is. I mean,
here's the thing for me is you don't trade anybody. You keep the same guys on your team. Let's try a different system. Let's throw a guy who's almost 7 feet on skates right in front of the goalie. Get him off the point.
Yes.
Put him right in front of the goalie. Put it, I mean, there's other people that can play from the point. And, the Bruins are going to start to score on the power play. You can't get much worse than 9%. I think it's gone up a little since they scored 2 power play goals the other night. But, it doesn't get much worse. But other than that, I don't think you trade for anybody because they're so young and the camaraderie is so strong there. And they've been dominating 5-on-5, and their penalty kill is one of the best in the NHL. So I don't think there's really any – I think it's being patient right now is the best thing you can do with them.
yeah, I mean, what I see is they just need to improve at home because they're at like 2 or like 4% at home. They're 2 for 29 at home, which is like awful. So they just need to be able to score some more at home on the power play. So
we're all over them there. We're all over them. Like, shoot it! I mean, it's crazy. I mean, but like, and that's what I'm saying is it drives as a Bruins fan, and I'm not the most diehard Bruins fan by any means. I'm a Bruins fan. I know what I'm talking about, but I wouldn't try to, but anyways, like, it's hard to watch this style of hockey. The type of people that I've talked to that know that, it's hard to watch it. It's so ugly. And, like, you see somebody like Sagan, you wonder if Sagan was in another system. You wonder if Krejci was in another system. How many goals would Sagan have? If he played 2 minutes on the power play. Imagine Sagan didn't come off the power play like Kovalchuk doesn't come off the power play, or like Ovechkin doesn't come off the power play. Yeah. Like we roll the lines. We roll them and roll them and roll them, and it's just hard to watch.
Right. No, and also, I mean, a lot of people subscribe to the belief of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're winning games.
Yeah.
So why? I mean, yeah, the power play has been crappy at times, but if they're winning, then you know what? Let's just go with it, right?
Aashish, what are we going to complain about then?
Yeah, the power play.
Hey, Jake, you know what? This is Boston. We always have something to complain about.
Even the weather. When it's summertime, it's too hot. When it's wintertime, it's too cold. But touching on the power play too is, when they won the Stanley Cup, they didn't have a good power play.
Awful.
So I think they can win the Stanley Cup again this year. Let's get it to middle of the road in the NHL. Let's get it up to around 15%, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
I see them in the finals.
Yeah, and I mean the future's bright, guys. I mean we've talked about this. This is a very young team that seems to be hitting their stride career-wise. I mean you've got guys like Dougie Hamilton, who's just a rookie. You've got Tyler Seguin, who's in his second or third year. Marchand, Lucic, you've got a lot of young guys. I mean, this is pretty much the OKC Thunder of hockey.
Yeah,
like, it's a very young team. It's a very young team.
I like that. That's a great. Yeah, I mean, I think that the youth of it being, I think the youth is something that Bruins fans can't deny. That it's exciting to think. Tuukka's 26. Sagan's 20 or 21. Dougie Hamilton's 19 years old. I mean, that's. You got Marchand under 25, Lucic right around 25. I mean, none of those guys are going anywhere either. And it's good, it's going to build a camaraderie. I think it's going to make, it would be nice to score some more goals, but I think it's going to make the team, we'll be right there for the next 3-4 years, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with Jake. And, the thing with the Bruins is, especially with the system they run, is you're not going to have a 50-goal scorer. I mean, Tyler Seguin could end up being that kind of guy, like a Stamkos.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be that great, but, Marchand's going to get his 30. Sagan's going to get 35. Horton's going to get 20-something. I think, and Lucic is right there to bang in 20 a year. You know, he's got a knack for scoring goals. It's not the prettiest thing, but he's big and he stands in front of the net and he puts them away. And I think the Bruins are the deepest team in the NHL. You know, the Blackhawks are awesome. So that's my dream. That's my dream as a Stanley Cup final this year. Blackhawks, Bruins. Bruins in 7. Bruins in 7.
Wow.
Whoa. Let's get this straight. What about Patrice Bergeron? Like, you didn't mention him. Like, he's still a legit threat on this team. He could score 30 goals by himself too. So like, he adds to the step. There's so many potential like guys on this team who could score 30 goals. I think Marchand could score 30 goals. He has 11 right now. The last 4.
Marchand's a 30 goal guy. His last 4 goals have been game winners. Like, he could be MVP if he keeps this up. Like, that's crazy. Like, if he keeps scoring game winners, I think he's in the MVP talks with Stamkos.
Oh yeah.
And if Dougie Hamilton can start to score more goals, I mean, the guy's already going to have. I see him as a 45 assist guy every year if he stays healthy. You know, he's great with the puck. I mean, if he can get his goals up to around 18 to 20 with 50 assists, I mean, Dougie Hamilton's the next Zdeno Chara. Let's face it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think too. I mean, people are real hardcore hockey guys are drooling over this kid. Drooling. The way he handles the puck in his own zone, he looks like he's out for a little skate on the park. Just hanging around, and people are
that goal.
And honestly,
the other day was fabulous.
And he puts them away too. He handles the puck he cleans up. He handles the puck well in our own zone. He's great on the point. You know what, Fern? I love the point of they did this during the Cup final. They put Chara in front of the friggin' net in the power play. Stick his big ass in front of the goalie. And see what happens.
He's the biggest guy in the NHL. Why wouldn't you?
Why not?
Yeah, the guy's 7 feet on skates.
You know what I mean? It's like they get into this kind of,
It's almost like they're draining the clock down when they get on the power play. They're like, oh, it's tied or we're up 1 goal. It's like, let's kill the clock. There's no shot clock in hockey. Let's run a motion offense.
Exactly. Let's just hang on to it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the bell. I think it means that's football time now, guys. Obviously, the Patriots have been doing a lot of offseason stuff. Free agency about a week away. Last week, obviously, the big story was that Tom Brady signed a 3-year, $27 million extension that will keep him in New England until he's 40, essentially guaranteeing that he gets to retire with the Patriots. Now, I think the biggest story here, guys, is that he signed a very team-friendly deal going forward, well below market value. When you look at what the going rate is for elite quarterbacks, you look at what Joe Flacco just got.
It's ridiculous.
And, I mean, that gives the Patriots a lot of financial flexibility heading forward. And in addition to that, the 2 remaining years of his deal right now were restructured. And he has, as a result, $15 million of freer cap space between this year and next year. His cap hit for this year alone came down $8 million after the restructuring. So, Brian, obviously, when we're looking at the free agents like Ballmer, Talib, Welker, this is huge, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It gives them potential to sign some draft guys and also, like, to sign some names out there like Ed Reed or someone out there, Charles Woodson. It gives them potential to sign some of those defensive guys, and it's kind of a really good thing that he would do this for the team, sacrifice some of his money to help win another Super Bowl that these Patriots fans really want. They've seen it. They've come so close the last couple seasons. They need 1 or 2 before Brady is done, because who knows who the next quarterback's gonna be.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, let's get one thing straight with this Tom Brady deal. Tom Brady is still raking in the money.
Okay, Jake, I just want to know how long were you planning that? How long were you planning that? You're just holding on to the bills.
You know, I mean, it's cash.
Money falling out his pockets like he robbed 9 strippers.
You know what I mean? So, Tom Brady went from $27 million guaranteed to $51 million guaranteed, and It's
Right.
great the way that it's being spun. It's all good. I'm happy. I think the biggest thing too, another key factor is yeah, he's getting paid. Seriously. They didn't want a situation like Montana and San Francisco where you had an epic franchise-changing player and having him go to another team, because I think everybody heard the rumors of, the team coming up in LA and maybe Tom goes there and goes home. That's where he lives. I think it's to kind of set the tone that Tom Brady is going to retire as a Patriot. And I never thought there was a major question with that, but I think that, he's going to be getting paid a ridiculous amount of money at a high age. And but I do think that he will still be able to play and be a top 10 quarterback until the end of the contract.
Yeah, and I want to ask a question. Does he get paid more if the Patriots win a Super Bowl last year or this past year?
I think there are incentives.
Okay, so anyways, the contract that he got, $9 million over the next 3 years, or the extension or whatever it is, it's great for the Patriots. Let's use this room, sign Welker, go out, get Freeney. Let's get Dwight Freeney on the Patriots. Sign Vollmer, sign Talib, and if you don't get Talib, there's some pretty good defensive backs towards the end of the first round.
What about Cromartie? Cromartie, what's his name? Cromartie is out there.
Yeah,
I thought you meant Antonio Cromartie. I was like, he's a head case, man.
Yeah.
The guy can't even name his 7 kids.
Oh God.
But
Some of us have a couple baby mamas.
I want to get back to the nuts and bolts of the Tom Brady contract. Actually, when he was approached to do the restructuring, he's happy because he has a $5.75 million base salary for this year. They take $4.8 million out of that, reduce it to a $950,000 base salary, combine it with a signing bonus that gets prorated over the next 2 years. Everybody wins because his cap hit for the next 2 years comes down. He gets a $10.8 million signing bonus right off the bat. Why wouldn't you want to do that? So before we go around calling Tom Brady a saint for the restructuring, I think that was obviously something that worked out for both sides. But what he is a saint for is taking a massive pay cut in the extension, getting $9 million a year.
Let's face it, he's happy because he has Giselle.
Hey, I'd be happy. I know. If I had Giselle, he's making $500 million a year. Well, he's not even the breadwinner in his own house.
No, and the Patriots over the next 4 years are going to be competitive.
Yes.
Let's draft Tavon Austin.
Ooh.
I like it. Go out, maybe get
that.
If you don't re-sign Welker, which is going to happen because Welker's not as good anywhere else, and he's getting older.
Edelman.
Amendola. There's a couple good,
Danny Amendola.
Yeah, and I don't know if I like Dwayne Bowe.
He got signed today. Dwayne Bowe got signed today with the Chiefs for 5 years. There are a bunch of, but you know what?
And they have Alex Smith now over there, so they might actually have a decent
could be a good slot receiver.
You know what? Here's one point I think, not to cut you off here, Fernie, but one point I would like to say, I guess, about is that it's going to be the way that the NFL deal is right now. This year and next year is going to be an absolute bloodbath as far as teams not being able to carry these players with these huge contracts that were signed 3 and 4 years ago, like Rogers Carmartie's gone, Osimo's gone, all these bigger players. And you know what? Where are these older veteran players going to want to go?
Right. And
they're going to have to take pay cuts.
And they will, but where are they going to – where's the place that they will consider going? Playing with Tom Brady in New England and Belichick. So they know that, and they're going to be ready with cash in hand.
And Jake, I'm glad you actually brought that up because that makes a lot of sense going, when we're talking about the franchise tag and the Patriots declining to use it on anyone this year.
Right.
You're looking at how teams are strapped against the cap. Yeah, they have about $10 million extra in space this year. But with a flat cap, I think the salary cap number is what, at $123 million this year?
Yep.
It's expected to not really grow at that much over the next few years. So teams are struggling to get under that.
They call it, it's not like a depression, but they call it like a flat cap.
A flat cap.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I think the Patriots will be in I don't think anyone would argue they're probably one of the best run teams. Not only in Boston, but in all pro sports. But I think one thing too that we got to consider as well is that not using the franchise tag, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I can understand why not going with Welker. I can understand why not going with the Talib, but it just doesn't, if Talib, Vollmer, and Welker, if we only get one of those three, to me it doesn't make much sense why we didn't use the franchise tag on another one. I could see one of them going, and that's fine. But if we don't get two of the three of those which were potential tags, then I think we're losing out.
Yeah, because I agree with that, because we could have tagged, say, Vollmer or Talib, and then we're already automatically signing Welker. I want to put that in stone. It's going to happen. So, using it on a guy like Talib, who really made our defense immensely better. I mean, there's a lockdown corner who's going to go out there and shut down any receiver in the league. I mean, he comes up limp in the first half against the Ravens, and Bolden has a huge second half, leading them to the Super Bowl.
Killed them.
That's a great point. But, I mean, I wouldn't franchise Ballmer. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers right now. And for offensive line, it's $9.5, $9.6 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. And for a guy who's going to miss half the season with injuries here and there, that really doesn't make much sense to me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make much sense. I mean, but I guess that's the point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe the player, maybe they should have just franchised Welker again, and then said, hey,
No, franchising Welker, that would be crazy. Man. You don't want to tie yourself up that. That's psycho talk right there. I would rather let him walk. I would rather let him walk.
How many years do you think he's going to get?
I think he can.
How many years do you think Welker's going to get?
3, maybe 4 years. He's 32 years old next training camp or whenever he comes in. No, 5. Come on, guys. Yeah, 4.
5.
I like what Jake said. 4.
Jeez.
4 max.
How much is he getting paid each of those years? $5 million?
$8 million max.
He's going to get 1 year. No, he's going to get 4.
Give him 4 years, 33.
But do you think that there's any chance? Do you think that there's any chance that Brady restructured his contract for just Welker? I have this feeling that there's more to it, and maybe this is just
absolutely.
me. There's got to be. We're going after Jennings, or we're going after. You know who I really think that, and this is maybe out of left field, but Larry Fitzgerald. I think the Patriots. He would. How do we pry him away from the Cardinals? I don't know. But like, there's a new coach there, a new GM. There's not really, they could really get all of our draft picks for Larry Fitz.
Yeah, I like that, but Brady definitely wants Welker back.
Yeah.
It's that marriage that just clicks, They never have a fight, and if they do, it's settled right away.
It's kind of like me and you, Fernie.
I know, I hate you for only 30 seconds, and then we make up.
Exactly. No, and I think we haven't even touched on Brandon Lloyd. We don't know if he's coming back next year because obviously he didn't make the impact.
I don't see why though.
He's been a problem behind the scenes, and he really wasn't that good offensively in terms of his production, and they might look elsewhere.
Yeah, but when people were out during the last several weeks of the season, Brady looked to him and he made some fantastic catches.
He did.
He put up almost a 200-yard game against the team. I forget what game that was, but he put almost 200 yards up.
You know what his problem is, Brian? It's his inability to get the yard after catch. The yards after catch. The guy makes a fantastic grab and then he gets 2 yards. I mean,
whoa. What about the? Did you see that move where he made that juke?
I do know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about.
All right. One thing about Lloyd. Let me just cut you off here. Lloyd had 74 catches last year for 900 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's a lot of catches. Do I think that he produced? Would anyone think that Brandon Lloyd produced to the level that they were expecting last year, playing with Tom Brady, or was it under that you expected, or more than you expected?
I was expecting 1,000 yards, so he was close to my expectations.
Well, I mean, maybe 8 touchdowns would have been nice. More of a deep threat. I mean, what happened to the days of having a guy like Welker in the slot, and then going downtown to Randy Moss? I mean, Brandon Lloyd is just not that guy.
Yeah.
He'll make a great catch on the sideline. He knows where the sideline is. He can keep his feet in, and he's great for that. But do we pick up his $3 million? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a good question. I do think that, it would be a lot. It would be a lot to kind of to keep him on. I think that there's better options out there, and I think that that's what we need to kind of focus on is a potential better option than Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason if they go in a different direction with those guys. But I think one guy that they might have to look at in terms of going in a different direction is Alfonso Denner. We don't know what the hell his future is going to be after he got cited for a Class 3 felony in, Nebraska for assaulting a police officer. The guy could be going to jail for 6 years. So they need to really, obviously now they might lose Aqib Talib to free agency. They might lose Alfonso Denner to jail time.
Yeah.
So the Patriots really do need to address the issues in the secondary.
Oh yeah, definitely. They especially with Denard, he was a good backup or whatever. But I mean, I think they need someone back there to get interceptions. Like, I mean, they did have a great takeaway percentage. Like they were so much better than everyone else in plus takeaways. So I mean, I don't think they'll improve on that, but I think they can get better at like making sure that Flacco doesn't eat them up with Torrey Smith down the sideline, like anyone could do last year against the Patriots. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Denard played a bigger role than you were giving it credit for. I think he started a majority of the games. I think when we had Denard and Talib on the corners, Talib on the left, Denard on the right, and we have McCourty at free safety.
Strong
safety.
Strong safety.
No, he plays free safety. But I think that we have a decent core there. But the problem is that we don't know whether Denard or Talib will be back. So who knows? Maybe we'll have all brand new defensive backs except McCourty.
Yeah, and another guy that's a big question mark for me, he had been all year, was Kyle Arrington. I mean, do you go and sign him? He just gets burnt left and right. Yeah, he's awful in the nickel. I mean, he's an awful third DB. And with the question marks of Denard, I mean, I think Denard's going to play this year. He might
I do too.
Suspended a couple times. I think he's already been, dealt with the NFL last year with the whole thing with the draft and everything getting pushed down to, last round. He's seen his punishment. He's not going to go to jail. I mean, the guy's an NFL player. His lawyer's going to take care of that. But I hope we sign Talib. The guy's he's big for us. And Denard being back, it's a big question mark still. The defensive back is a big question mark for the Patriots, and that's something they need to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I agree with you. I think that whether you sign Denard and Talib, or whether Denard plays and you sign Talib back, I still think you have to look at defensive back. You still have to
obviously. So, guys, I'm going to throw out something, and I want to get your opinion on this. Two guys that are on my radar: Charles Woodson, Ed Reed.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think?
I think they should go after another wide receiver, especially if they only if they cut Brandon Lloyd though. So I see like Greg Jennings or something like that.
Wow.
I like Greg Jennings. Somebody who I think that the Patriots could use. I think they could use somebody else off the edge. A player on the Baltimore Ravens, not Ed Reed, but Paul Kruger, who's a defensive end, and I think that he's flexible, he's versatile. He kind of can play that Vrabel role. He's a little bigger than Vrabel, probably not as fast. But the Patriots are playing a lot more 4-3 now than they've been playing a 3-4. So you're looking for that kind of edge guy who can rush the passer and stop the run too. And I think that Paul Kruger fits that role pretty well.
And with the extra cap room, I love to see him go after Ed Reed. You know, a veteran in the clubhouse, a guy that's going to motivate the younger DBs. Not that we even have many on the team, but I would love to see them go get Dwight Freeney and Ed Reed.
Oh yeah, just that veteran presence. Even if they don't give you much on the field, obviously these are aging superstars, aging all-pro defensive players. Just having that veteran presence around these young guys has to do something good. I mean, you look at Aqib Talib, Alfonso Denner, Devin McCourty. They're all youngsters, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously with Chandler Jones and Rob Ninkovich isn't even that old, although he is somewhat of a veteran. I would love to have these guys around just to kind of, you know, give advice here and there, pull them off to the side and say, hey, you know what, try this. But you know what, if they don't make a dent in free agency, there's certainly the NFL draft coming up in about a month from now. You know, obviously we have touched on, you know, the defense they need. Are there any guys that you guys have looked at coming out of college that could be impact players for the Patriots?
I like David Amerson. He's a cornerback. He's 6'4". I think, you know, going out, they could get him in the first round. I was looking at, you know, who would be around. Another guy is that safety from Florida, Elam.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think it's too early. I think that the NFL draft is such a big process. And this is, you said earlier, Ish, something about in Doc we trust. Well, where it really started where is in Belichick we trust. And I think that, you know, Belichick has had a decent record over the last couple of years of drafting. You know, you got Gronkowski, Hernandez. You know, you got Soldier that looks like he's going to be a pretty good player. You got, you know, Hightower who showed flashes. Mayo's turned out to be a pretty good player as well. So you got to hope that, you know, I think that we do. It would be nice to bring a receiver. I think that I've always dreamed of the Patriots drafting a receiver in the first round. Probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be a left tackle or a right tackle or something like that.
Sure. But Jake, I just want to kind of interrupt into what your point was about how Belichick has made some good picks recently.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I mean, we were talking about this last week off the air about how he made, you know, Terrence Wheatley, Darius Butler, Ellis Hobbs, Jonathan Wilhite. What happened to all these guys, you know? So, I mean, he has had hits and misses.
No, big time. Don't draft a corner. He can't draft corners, period.
Yeah.
You know, he drafted – do you remember when McCourty got drafted? I remember the first blip was like –
I was like, who the hell is Devin McCourty? I called him Devin McCourtney.
Right,
I was like, who's McCourtney, you know?
Right.
But, you know, obviously, look, we were all kind of kicking our own asses after that because he went all-pro and got a Pro Bowl berth. But then since then, what's he done? He's been a better safety than a corner.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
So I mean, obviously, I think, you know, they've got a lot of room for improvement on the defensive side, and if they can bolster those positions that we talked about, that edge rusher, that, you know, that deep safety, maybe a couple of other cornerbacks or a nickel, I think this team has enough talent to get back to the AFC Championship game, get back to the Super Bowl, and maybe this is the push that gets them that Lombardi Trophy next year.
Let's hope so.
I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement, but with Brady's contract, you know, they can just go get it right now.
Yeah, and they have a lot of room under the cap, actually, to make some moves. And we'll see if, you know, I think that there's more to this Brady deal than just Welker. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that something big is going to happen, that we're going to get another big-time receiver. But, I mean, I think that, we'll see where it goes.
All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this show, this edition of Monday Night Throwdown on BostonSportsRadio.net, this weekly segment that we'll be bringing to you every week. Yeah, there we go. I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, we did okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Hey, and next week, guys, these three will be back. I am on vacation next week, but I will be back the week after that. Exactly. Yeah, just going to be drinking and having some fun. So see you guys then. Thanks for watching.